I want to welcome you to the Charly Crawford podcast. Let's ride.
What's up, my man Blake? Or hang on, should I say Dr. Blake? Dr.
Whatever.
Blake.
Yeah, Blake Mallory, that's fine. Dr. Blake, whatever you want to call me. That's good.
I love it. It's even got it written down, Dr. Blake. I love it.
I can spell. I can for sure spell. A lot of training.
This podcast will be a little bit different than the last one that we had, the In the Trenches podcast. And I don't know what it was, but it might have been something in the water, but it was there wasn't as much doctoring going. It didn't feel like where there was.
No, not so much. It was a good time. Bunch of good dudes trying to make a conversation kind of flow, and well, it led into a lot of stuff. So as y'all probably heard, but it was a good time.
I would have said too, for sure, is that it was entertaining. I mean, it was straight up entertainment. And then, I remember you also told me too, there was quite a few phone calls afterwards. I got a lot of emails from the text messages, things like that, in such a positive way of thanks to our buddy Kip, honestly, just kind of
big boy
being a big boy and stepping up like he does. And it was very powerful in what that was, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I to kind of touch on that, like I was getting phone calls, text, emails from like other countries. Canada, for sure. There's a lot of good cowboys and cowgirls up there that following the show and kind of what you're doing. And man, they reached out. How can I help? Or I have this individual in need. Where can we kind of send them to get the help they need in the time they need it? It was I wasn't expecting how big it was going to be, but it turned into a great thing. And we have a great team that are dedicated to kind of fulfilling this role and, helping people that contact us, reach out to us directly to really kind of give them the help they need in the time that they need it. But man, it was a good show. It got a little dark. It got a little deep.
It got deep. It really did.
With good friends, good support, man, that's how it's supposed to be, in my opinion. So it was awesome.
It's fascinating. I've been looking at the numbers on my podcast, and we're at almost 80 countries now, like right at 80 countries. And so when you're saying people are reaching out from other countries, it's wild the reach, and the ways a guy can communicate now. And, I think a lot of what we're seeing in the current temperature of our culture right now with Charlie Kirk is, I think we're seeing just how much he's been able to really reach and touch however many people, not only in America, but across the world with what he's not only happened to him, but what he's done. And a lot of people call it a civil rights movement, in the fact of, he was kind of a mix between Rush Limbaugh and Billy Graham. He was an extremely sharp guy, and I truly appreciated what he was doing for our youth and the movement. But when you're seeing what's happening worldwide, what's your take on that?
So I'm really not surprised that it's really had the reach because of the way the world is right now and the accessibility. And he was going out of his way to have these hard conversations. He wasn't really just keeping it safe, right? Either you liked him or you didn't, or you were on the fence, or some certain things that you liked or didn't like about his approach to things or his faith or whatever it is. Regardless, he brought just such a well-read, well-rounded and organized argument to most things, and was not scared to have somebody disagree with him, to really allow, I think, free speech to really be utilized in a manner that can really open up some conversations, that can really bring people from different sides of the fence, in a sense, on a topic and really kind of hash it out. And I think that impact can really, generate a lot of power and impact in the youth. And it's bringing them together. He was going across the country to all of these college campuses. He was really trying to bring that connection, regardless of your belief system, regardless of your kind of methodology, when it came about just living life and certain big topics that are controversial, But I'm not really surprised at how devastating this event has been. I'm not really surprised at the reach that it's really kind of gotten to so far. And I have a feeling that it's just going to get bigger and bigger because of the movement. And he literally died for what he believed in a sense, right? Again, there's a lot of controversy around this kind of topic right now, but man, it's a big deal. Regardless of,
I thought Mark, I thought Mark Driscoll had a very interesting perspective of kind of what the temperature in our culture is. And he
right,
was saying that, everyone says that as a pastor that you shouldn't be political. And he says how much he disagreed with it because everything's political. Everything now is turned political. You're talking about abortion, well, you're talking about killing a child. You're talking about genders. You're talking about the simplicity between a man and a woman. And that's biblical. He was talking about how there's so many things that are topics now that are biblical topics, and where he was unapologetic about bringing the truth and speaking through the Bible to try to simplify what's going on in this world. And, for me, it was very interesting because I don't feel like I question why they did it. I feel like I know why they did it. I feel like that was a man speaking truth. The movement got too big. I feel like it was getting out of certain control, he was getting too big in a way. I feel like the why is there. The what feels to me like demonic. Demonic I feel like is what has created this hate towards him, and the fact that he spoke free speech. Free speech did take a bullet that day. And he spoke truth. He spoke through the Bible. You look at it through, like what he'd said, like if you look through it through a biblical lens, you can see the what and the why. But I think for so many people, including me, is a lot of people are wanting to know who. Because that's what it feels like it came down to was it some lone wolf? Was it more than that? I think that's just what everyone's wanting to wrap their head around, it feels like right now.
I think time will tell. As this investigation kind of develops further, we're going to get more information. We're going to get more of a motive and kind of thoughts behind the approach to making that big decision. And a lot of people are hurt by this. A lot of people are scared by this. A lot of people are adjusting their tours. They're adjusting their kind of career paths, either for or against, or wanting to really be a part of this movement. But I think it's going to change the temperature moving forward. It's going to get a lot more intense before it gets better. And I've talked to several buddies of mine on this topic specifically. And one of the things that kept being a common theme that I think a lot of people are just now grasping is the youth doesn't know the severity of what death really means. I don't think they understand completely the devastation that death in this type of event can really have on the world, much less a certain population, right? So again, I was looking and doing research and all kinds of stuff, looking through it just to try to wrap my head around it. And, one of the things that stood out to me was the guy that's alleged to be the shooter, right? Was born in 2003. So I had just entered the Marine Corps in 2003. So 9/11 had already happened. I mean, there's a lot of things that were mainstream at that point. I just don't think they realistically understand the gravity of their actions, the impulse control, the hatred that they have on an idea, and not being able to communicate openly, effectively, safely without feeling a certain type of way. Debating a certain topic is crucial to our development and growth as a society. This is how we invoke positive changes, things that are working or not working. We make some adjustments, and instead of us running towards each other and finding peace in that, we're finding holes, we're finding voids, and we're creating separation that leads to, unfortunately, events like this. So the devastation is there. The impulse control or their lack of is there. The divide is there. This is not a good recipe for society, specifically in America, much less the world. There's so much violence going on right now, but also propaganda is a thing too. Like what they're pushing out, also what's visible now that wasn't visible before, if we look at history. But again, it's a lot more in your face. It's a lot more persuasive in a sense. It's there's so many platforms that you can have access to this type of information. And let's just get real. If nobody's ever gone hunting before or ever seen anyone be shot or wounded by a projectile, they now have. Okay, that changes people. That I'm telling you, it's a different ball game that we're in now because of the access to kind of this type of information. So I don't know what's going to come up. I don't know what the future holds, but I hope we can find a way to come together and resolve some of these issues that are resolvable, so that events don't happen like this, and we can really have a voice again and really start having these hard topic conversations in a open platform that's safe for everybody in a sense. Because that's how, America was founded essentially, so.
I heard a lot of guys talking about how mad they were because of what they had fought for was what's getting silenced. And when I've heard that when God weeps is when things happen. And the legacy that Charlie Kirk had made, when you're seeing millions of people across the world come together and like-minded people come together. I don't know how many posts on social media that I seen where people bought their first Bible. People are going to church again for the first time in 15 years, their first time in their life. The way he lived inspired so many people. Even just me was looking at the text message that Charlie Kirk had sent Mark Driscoll and talked about how he realized what his platform was. He didn't ask for it, but it's here. And he's like, how do I get led through the Holy Spirit and through God to use this platform that I have to do good, that God has his hands on it? And it was just so inspiring on how he said that. Like, just even me had that pull. Even me had that pull of like, man, I have a platform and I have a certain thing that I'm trying to do in legacy. I'm trying to leave. How do I kind of be like Charlie? And you're seeing so many young kids coming home and you're hearing stories of them trying to be more like Charlie. And you're seeing how God uses tragedy for his own good and how it created good in the world, because this truly feels like right now the fight is good versus evil in this land is what it feels like in my perspective.
Absolutely. And, there's so many things that you could say about the platform that he had. One thing that you can positively say is his faith was unconditional, period. I always go back to, the scripture or some of my favorite inspirational quotes like Mark Twain, the two most important days of anyone's life is the day you're born and the day you find out why. Like, man, look at the platform that everybody has in certain capacities. Some have a bigger reach, some have a limited reach. Whatever that looks like, it's still useful. It's still impactful. So whatever your purpose is, I think that message would need to be, how can we make this world that we're living in collectively a better place than it was yesterday? And right now, I'm not seeing it. You know what I'm saying? So right now, I feel like that peace is at war. So again, it's a divided world we're living in. And again, that's not new, right? Like, as long as there's two people there's probably going to be some topics of discussion that are not going to be in alignment.
You're so correct on it's not new. I think it's new to all of us. When we think back at the last assassination attempt and the last true assassination that was successful was so long ago, it's happened before. It's happened throughout all the Bible. And so for a lot of us, we're just seeing this for the first time. But man, this has escalated, through politics so much and through kind of the demonic that's rose up through this country. And like I say, you're right. It's always been there. I don't think that the numbers are as strong as the good. I think this has brought out a lot of good in people that we really didn't see, but I think the squeaky wheel gets the grease, the loud noise gets the attention. So I think it's it's a big minority, but I think the percentage of those people aren't as big as what they're seeing amongst social media worldwide for sure. But it's I tell you, one thing that really touched me throughout this was, any young kid that's looking to marry and start a family. I think that Erica Kirk really set the groundwork on what
No
a
kidding.
Christian woman looks like.
No kidding. Very strong and unconditional love. It's loving through advantage. She never met Charly and was thinking that this was how it was going to end or go, good or bad. But regardless, she's staying strong in her faith. She's staying strong with her relationship with her kids, her husband, and her faith. So at the end of the day, this has got to be one of the hardest things that any mother can go through, any wife can go through, specifically at a young age and specifically with that much exposure. To keep your composure, every decision you make, every action or reaction it's visible, so they don't have time to really grieve or, what's the purpose here. So you have people chirping and, trying to push an agenda using this platform. Again, I think it was very nice to hear her kind of just take a moment and soak it in and write some words that she felt like would have a large positive impact on the community and to put people on notice. So again, if you're talking about a wife or a mother or a woman of faith, you said it. She is the backbone. Okay. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of,
for sure.
Oh man. Kind of jealous, of kind of that love. I wish everybody could experience that love that she had. And it sucks that we get to see it because she lost it in a sense, right? But again, anybody that's ever found their partner and just refuses to live without them in any capacity, no matter how much they're frustrating or whatever. But the way that she speaks about Charly and his life and his legacy and how she's going to pick up the torch and carry it on, that's unconditional love. Because the hard work, believe it or not, is just beginning.
And this world's going to hear it like a battle cry, like that. If that didn't make the hair on the back of your neck stand up and your throat want to swivel up, and then the fact that Charly Kirk was willing to fight this fight and die for it, through his beliefs. I mean, it was I think for every man inside, you questioned a little bit of what your purpose was, because you wanted to see what it's like to see what somebody has that purpose that they're so strong about it that they're willing to die for it.
100%.
He's a martyr now. I mean, he's right along with Jesus and the disciples that all died for their faith, and so it's a sad time in our country, but also to be able to see something like this, I think really does touch us deep down. I think a lot of people felt something pretty spiritual these last few days when all this happened. It feels like.
Yeah, and I mean, I would love to say that. I agree with you, but again, I've been seeing celebrations. I've seen the other side of it. I've seen that darkness that
definitely exposed that too, didn't it?
Oh man. And again, that's what's scary about it is, just how big the divide is. And again, I love people, right? I love people. And it's the baseline of how I operate. It's how a lot of people operate. It's how Charly operated, right? He loved people. He cared about people and their well-being in a sense, regardless if you agreed with everything he said or not, right? At the end of the day, everybody else has a lens that they're looking at the world through. And sometimes, we keep talking about evil. Everybody looks at him as evil in some capacity, that's why it's so scary, is because a man died because of his words, his opinions, his stances, his faith. Like, what's to stop evil from taking over more?
Yeah. How many guys have you talked to that are pretty mad about the fact that this is what they fought for and they've seen that being threatened?
Man, it's a dark topic because it's like, well, hell, why did I even do this or that? They're second guessing their decision making leading up to this point. Again, we can't control the actions of everybody else. but it's how we respond that sets the tone on how we all move forward. So we've got to sit down together and literally break it down piece by piece. How can we prevent this from happening? How can we prevent this divide from getting this big? Now, this is America, the land of the free, right? Well, does it feel like it's free now? Does it? Do you feel like you can feel safe in opening up about your opinions and your faith and stuff like that? No, not exactly.
I think this is where the home of the brave steps in, I feel like.
And as a veteran, as a clinician, and somebody that sees both sides and deals with it every day, and I serve unconditionally, right? And I get to sit here and witness the turmoil and the damage and how devastating this is going to be moving forward if we don't make positive change. And again, these are humanistic habits, rituals, cultures. Like, you can lead a horse to water, as you know, but again, somebody is looking through their lens, not through Charly's lens, not through Erica's lens, not through JD Vance, President Trump, anybody on the, political stage, like on either side of the fence, either side of the hall. And at the end of the day, are they right or wrong? I think that's where we're getting it wrong. It's like, okay, that makes sense. How can we provide this with a little bit of logic? And we respond to conflict versus try to take it into our own hands like this individual did on that day.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
It is. It is. Well, one of the things I'm so excited about having you on the podcast is just being around you, and your love of people has been something that's inspired me so much since the first couple of times we've met. You know, it's been a few years ago since you've been out there at that branding and that we had for a lot of our military and first responders, and just watching you and your love for people. You know, I think that it's sad to be talking about Charlie Kirk the way we're talking about the tragedy that's happened, but when we're talking about the life that he lived, you know, you also fit in amongst that category, Blake, with people that you attract people because of just how much you love people and what a great guy you are and how much help you do for people, and people can see it and feel it when they're around you. And so, you know, I love to be able to talk here in a little bit of the counseling that you do, some of the organizations you've been with, and, you know, and some of the guys that you've helped. But one of the things I'd like to get started off with is, you know, you being a Marine and what do you feel like when did you start? Why did you feel like you wanted to be in the military, and what did you feel like? Why was the Marines the military of choice, the branch of choice?
Well, to kind of go back, let's set the tone. What was the climate looking like back then? I love sports. I didn't have direction as far as school or direction as far as that goes. All I knew was I had such a passion for sports, and I was pursuing that pretty heavily at the time. And then 9/11 happened. I remember it's called time. I was in 11th grade, 15, or 16, turning 17. And, that moment, I think, changed the trajectory, not just of my life, but a generation of warfighters. It was our generation's turn to pick up the phone when their nation called, put up or shut up. And I think there's a lot of people that were going through the motions at that period of time thinking the same thing. And anyway, so the next day after 9/11, I was at the recruiting office, the RS Tyler, and I just couldn't believe that all that had happened. I'd been talking all night with the old gunnery sergeant, drill instructor from back in the day. Like, he already knew who it did it, this, that, and that. Like, he was just motivated about the Marine Corps. I had family members that had served in the military, specifically Jerry Spencer. He was a Marine Corps officer in the Vietnam War. Had a big influence on me as far as that direction. But I was a competitor. And you look at the branches of service, I was pissed. I was angry that this happened in our country. I didn't truly understand the devastation of the darkness that was ensuing around what had happened that day until later. But ultimately, that was the spark. That was like, okay, I am chasing my why now. I didn't know it then, leading into what I'm doing now, right? But back then, I had a purpose, I had a mission. And that was to try to leave this earth a little bit better condition than I found it. And the way that I decided to do that was through the Marine Corps, because they have a very, very, very competitive spirit. They have a standard, they have a reputation. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt, in any capacity, I served in the Marine Corps, I was going to be a part of the fight. So with that being said, I really, really started looking at kind of like what that would look like moving forward. And it was just really hard for me to kind of fathom at that time. But I knew one thing, that I was going. I didn't care what job they gave me. I didn't care where I was going, who I was serving with. I knew that I was going to go try to be useful. So I was talking to my, we'll call him Uncle Jerry. He's like a father figure to me. Anyway, he's like, you know what? You just look at this as a little adventure. And, you know, I can't help but laugh, but like, I wasn't thinking about any damn adventure when these drill instructors were throwing me out of the rack, and like, it's a rude awakening, you know? So they didn't have YouTube. They didn't have all these little videos and clips. I didn't know what to expect, you know, but it was, I think, the forging of turning young boys into men and ladies, right? And I think that generation really stepped up when their nation needed them most. And it was a decision. It wasn't something they were forced into. It was awesome to see.
So when you got out of high school, that's you went out of high school.
It's my graduation because I went to MEPS. So I nearly missed my high school graduation because I went to the MEPS kind of process to get kind of sworn in, all that other stuff. Then I entered the delayed entry program. And then that July, I went to boot camp in 2003. So, and then after that, man, it was all gas, no break. Training workups. I was attached to Sigma Battalion 11 Marines, 1st Marine Division, Kilo 312. Artillery units by design, but we were utilized specifically for Provisionary Rifleman Company in the Battle of Fallujah and Ramadi and stuff like that. So we never pulled a lanyard in country. We would do convoy escort, convoy security, you know, transporting prisoners, supplies, stuff like that, gun trucks. Like it was a lot. It was always on the move, and man, yeah, it was a crazy time. But again, something I'm very thankful that I was able to experience. And, you know, regardless of, you know, looking back, I think we played a part in transforming history at that time and what we see America as. And it's really like kind of what you were saying. It's really hard to see what it's turned into today because of these current events. But again, I still love my country. And if they were like, hey, man, we need you to serve in some capacity, you better believe I'm on the way. So again, I think that the resolve of the American spirit is still there. That's why we're so violent, because we are passionate about the American people, the country, the ideals, and the freedom. It is toxic at times, as you've seen, but again, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I wouldn't want to serve under any other flag. And I think a lot of veterans and first responders and family members of, man, I think they would say the same. You know, it's been a tough time, you know, and I changed my life forever. Once I made that decision, took that oath and stuff like that, my life was forever changed. I was changed. You thought I was a handful at the branding a couple of years ago? Man, you should have seen me in high school. I was a problem. Yeah. All laughter, all jokes, class clowning it. Didn't know how to regulate, like, and kind of be politically correct, you know, your favorite stuff. So, but I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to serve my country. And I hope that, you know, people understand this. I've never considered myself a hero in any capacity, but I want people to know that I have the opportunity to serve a few today. So that's what I'm going to do.
Hey, friends, if you're looking for something that inspires grit, creativity, and good old-fashioned hard work, you've got to check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear. This isn't just another brand. It's a group of homeschooled teenagers who are learning to enterprise, building real skills, and producing high-quality gear that stands up to ranch life and beyond right here in Texas. Each piece is hand-tooled by these young men and women themselves and the craftsmanship speaks for itself. Their truck scabbard, it's their top seller. Rugged, practical, and built to last. If you're looking for something unique for your business, they even create custom corporate gifts with your company logo. And here's what I love. Every purchase not only gets you gear you can count on, but it also supports the next generation of entrepreneurs who are learning what it takes to work hard, create value, and build something meaningful with their own two hands. Whether you're a rancher, a business owner, or just someone who loves quality American-made gear, check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear at EzraTechGear.com. To get a 10% discount, use promo code CHARLY10. That's CHARLY10. EzraTechGear.com, where craftsmanship meets enterprise and the future is being built one tool at a time.
I was able to talk. So my dad was a Marine, and he rarely talked about it. One of the things that some of the guys that once I kind of got to know them through these ropings and these clinics and stuff and become good friends with a lot of them. And, they would pick certain movies for me to watch to kind of understand, what certain wars were, certain branches were, and kind of to get to know a little bit more of what's going on amongst some of the guys that I'm around. And when I watched the movie, The Pacific,
Oh man.
that one was gruesome, and it was a little bit hard. Battle of the Branches, man, that one.
Yeah.
That one was so cool. But it wasn't that the Pacific wasn't, but it was the gruesomeness of it. But it was interesting was watching that, hearing just the little stuff that I remember my dad talking about, being in Okinawa, San Diego, some of the places he had been. Was like, man, I wished he would have been still alive watching that movie to kind of hear a lot of the places that they were talking about. He wasn't there during World War II, but he was there. I think, I forget, he was there for, I think, 5 years. I forget what all. I guess I was talking to my stepmom about it when I was up there doing a clinic a couple months ago. And I was able to ask her a little bit more about kind of how he served and stuff. And she said that he went in there after high school and he loved it. She said he truly loved it. He loved the discipline, the structure, because it was the things he wasn't taught at home. So he loved that camaraderie amongst guys. I remember he would always tell me too, when he was being hard on me, he says, I want to be hard on you because that way no one else. He says, if I'm the biggest asshole you've ever met, you'll be able to be fine from here on out. So it's kind of like a push you down to the ground and see if you're able to come up or not. That was kind of his mentality. And he boxed through the service a lot. And I guess his record was, I read the clipping, he's 60-0.
Wow.
And he got to where he was bleeding. His nose was breaking all the time. And I think something else was bleeding all the time. And he was like, man, I think I've had enough, and I'd like to quit. And they said, well, if you quit, you're headed out to Okinawa. And he didn't believe him, so he quit. And then he ended up in Okinawa. It's like they wouldn't lying. So
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear all the places he had been. But when you talked about that earlier structure, it was funny because you could tell that what the structure he found in the military was the structure he learned how to parent.
Tough.
So that was it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was interesting hearing a lot of like my family pedigree on what they had served in. And I guess my grandpa before him, I guess he'd fought in the Korean War in the Army. But
Wow.
his wasn't very heroic in the fact she said that like he didn't just exactly enlist. He had two choices. He's either going to go to jail or he was going to fight for our country. And I'm like, I was very fortunate that I didn't have those two choices, only for one reason. I just didn't get caught.
Hey. Shifty.
So it was interesting to kind of hear the history a little bit. And, for a lot of the guys we do talk to, that was kind of, with the appeal of structure or fighting for the country. And, you think of World War II and it seemed like, man, so many people just wanted to fight. They wanted to serve their country. And,
Yeah.
I think 9/11, from what I've heard, brought a lot of that out too. You hear of Pat Tillman, what a warrior that guy was. I'm a huge fan of Chris Kyle, and what that guy did when he seen that happen. And so that really did wake a lot of Americans up at that tragedy, huh?
Man, yeah. I think that generation, I was kind of looking up some videos, and I see my buddy all the time. He's so pretty. Joey Jones, Fox Nation and all that. He's a regular there. And he was on the Will Kane show, and he was talking about the generation, how they would, forget, essentially. Like, we oftentimes forget how devastating a war was. And this is kind of my own synopsis of it, but I just think they don't understand the gravity of the generations that have gone before you really have, because if you look at it as far as a population standpoint, the census standpoint, there's a lot of men and women that died beyond even making it to their prime, right? That never knows the true warmth of their partner for life, to have kids, to hear the first cry from their firstborn, right? Like, they don't have the opportunity because they gave up for a cause, a purpose, their country. And I think the greatest generation and before that, it's a long, illustrious line of professionals that have worn our colors for a long time. And I think we have carried it the best way we can as a society, as a population, as a nation. We're still at the top of the food chain for now, right? But at the end of the day, there's a lot of reason for that. It's because of these great Americans that decided to make a decision based on being uncomfortable. Hey, this is going to suck. I'm going to do it anyway because that's what's necessary for our nation to succeed. And I think,
greater good.
Yeah, and look at you. You are a product of the debauchery. Of how good the dress blues really look on a Marine. You're so pretty. But I think of that often. And, I always talk about, my why today, right? Like, I have literally 0 suit jackets in my closet. Okay. Now, hear me out. I don't have a suit jacket that was ever purchased for a celebration, for a birthday, for a wedding. Okay. They were bought for funerals. In 04 Fallujah, 05 Ramadi, all this other stuff, there's a lot of people dying, right? But I've lost 35 personal friends due to suicide from the invisible wounds since being back in different capacities, different seasons, different issues and concerns, different problems. But every day that I walk out of my closet to attack the plan of the day, I always look over and see that. That's my Hall of Fame, because literally every person that I had bought these for no longer draws breath. But as long as I breathe, they still live. So that's kind of like why it's important that we have these conversations, because I think a lot of people have missed the importance of living. People are willing to die for nothing, for a drop of a hat, right? But again, the hard thing to do is live well by learning to struggle well. So every day when I walk out of my closet, I look at that Hall of Fame. And regardless of my day, good, bad, or the ugly, I have no excuse to complain. I've given up my right to complain a long time ago, because every breath that I take now moving forward is more than they were allotted for whatever reason. Yeah. So again, coming from a family of military veterans, coming from somebody that's a competitor, somebody that really loves to compete, I think you've missed the mark on understanding how important your role is of guiding a bunch of degenerates and getting them on horseback and trying to get this little bitty rope around some little neck. But man, your impact is incredible. I've just been really excited to be along this journey with you a little bit, and happy to know you. And I can't wait to see what's in store next for you. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'd like to hear how long, because I looked it up a couple times, but how long were you in the Marine Corps? I've seen 12.
8 years, 4 years active, 4 years in reserve.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was some of the memories, when you look back at that, because one of the things that I see when I see these guys at the roping, for some of the guys, I've known them before. I knew them before this event. I've seen so many guys that I didn't even know served show up at this roping, and I've known them a little bit, and I've never seen certain sides that you see when they get amongst their guys. And so, serving for that long and being amongst those guys, what was the experiences like, and what are the memories that you remember? Because it's when you see that amongst guys, there's something there. And so what was some of the experiences you remember?
From the branding, right? So I think we have to go back to the basic fundamentals of what people do in general to build connection and rapport. Okay. So microaggressions. People talk shit to check you to see if you're going to talk shit and give it back. Once that happens, that little exchange of microaggressions, it's all over but the crime.
Yeah, but the crime, yeah.
So, and I think the venue there is just, the banter, the camaraderie, the support, the laughter. You could truly be at peace there. It's just, tough love. And I think that's what's so familiar about military service or law enforcement or first responder type service and others, right? Pilots, stuff like that, is that banter, that connection, that camaraderie. That is something that I miss greatly. Like, there's a lot of people I served with that I didn't necessarily like. And again, I'm pretty sure they didn't like me all the time, right? So something that I have in common with them is I didn't like the old me either. You know what I mean? We're all kids and boys. But one of the things that I remember most, and this is kind of how I envisioned the branding to be, it gave me this same feeling, was we were in Ramadi in our hooches, and we had these little bitty, at this time, DVD players, okay? So we had these little DVD players, maybe 7.5 inch. I'm talking big screen, okay? So there would be one Marine on the rack. It would put it on his stomach, and he would be kind of the DJ. So we'd watch movies, and there would be just lawn chairs around the rack, whatever, cleaning rifles, chilling, whatever. And, I always think of that because you did everything together. And I think with the branding, I felt the same way because it always makes me laugh because there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable in a saddle, me included. How's old Red doing, by the way?
He's doing awesome. Yeah.
She's like, I hope he never shows up again. So again, I think that connection, that camaraderie, and doing things that are challenging and being supportive in that. Because there's different levels of people that come out to your events that are really, really like experts in the field, masters of craft, and a lot of different disciplines, right? But then there's other people that are there to just be witness to it or support or help or aid or learn or grow. So you have different it's like rank structure. You have the old Marines and the young Marines, right? And then there's that bonding, connecting type environment that you create. And I think that is the experience I get. And I remember from going out there to the first branding, because yes, I'm a Texan, right? I've spent time riding horses a little bit, not a lot of it, until I got out there. And, so you're really learning to be present and focus in again on something intentional, like not falling off and dying or not putting a horse in a fence or somewhere else, right? But I think that is the one thing that I think the branding really provided me that I will always remember is the camaraderie, the connection, that sense of bonding, but also the challenge and the focus and the direction and drive of trying to get everybody involved and included into one common goal. And then that experience, that hardship or, people falling off or getting drunk or forgetting a rope or a hat, whatever. All is fun, but I mean, those are the memories that will be core memories moving forward. Those are the things that make the experience so much fun and memorable, and it really builds connection because you go through something together, right? So I think, my favorite memory would be that. And then Red just not respecting me at all. Like, yep, he's on my back. I'm going to do what I want. We go to the buffet.
Yeah.
Like, so I was along for the ride. So anyway, but yeah, it's such a great event, great guys, great people.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to share something with you that I'm very proud of. As a clinician, my goal has always been to give you the tools to get better, and that's exactly what I had in mind when I built my online course, The Basics of Roping. I've got over 2 hours of instruction, everything from a frame-to-frame breakdown of the swing to dummy drills that'll get you ready for just about anything in the arena, plus tips on rope selection and care. Think of it like a clinic you can carry with you. You can pull it up anytime, anywhere, right from your phone or computer. Just head on over to charlycrawford.training, click on the course tab, and get signed up. Let's keep leveling up wherever you are.
And when you got out of the military after retirement or whenever you decided to basically kind of go on your new journey, what was that transition like? Because I feel like with what you do now, felt like, I always hear people when they talk about retiring or coming out of the military, there's a certain time after that that's kind of that rebuilding phase. There's some challenges, it seems like, it comes out of that. Was there any of that for you when you got out?
1,000%, just like many others. Like the transition is, you're a civilian, then they make you either soldier, Marine, sailor, whatever, airman. So the culture change and shock is completely different. They break you down and build you back up, right? They teach you how to do certain things, teach you to have a certain criteria, expectation, standard, right? It's a culture. And when you no longer have that culture to rely on or depend on, and you try to position yourself to be useful in a civilian world where these roles and this culture no longer applies, it's hard. It's hard to connect. It's hard to meet people where they're at because you have a certain standard and a competitive nature. Specifically, I can only talk about the Marine Corps, right? But again, like, I got frustrated at transitioning out, not having an expectation of what to do, how to do it, where to do, like, it was a challenge. They, said, here you go. And then you would have to figure it out. Some people figure it out. Some people do not. I wasn't one of those. So one of the times that I can remember in the Marine Corps, late in my, I think, last 6 months or something like that of my enlistment, was I started doing things outside my behavior. Usually I started getting kind of the rhythm and stuff like that early on. It was really hard for me to transition because I kind of had a hard upbringing. I didn't have an accountability partner or father figure in kind of like consistent pattern behavior like in my life after 13. So I had to figure it out from my mom that was trying to raise a man, which is really challenging, right? Then you go in the Marine Corps. Okay. Then it's like, woo, all right, figure it out. Tough love. Like there's no excuses, right? So you would really kind of transition throughout your career as you get rank and get different responsibilities and you take on different roles or billets, right? Like it teaches you how to develop and be adaptable better than just about any other organization on the planet. When you get to the point to where you're a civilian again and you have an option to or not to, a lot of people fall into that. Or like for me, the last 6 months of my enlistment, I wanted to make sure that I was squared away because of some of the things that I was doing. I was really protective of my Marines to the point of doing things I knew I shouldn't have done, like check people that outranked me, things like that. And that's not a great career move. I don't know if you knew that. But again, I knew better and stuff like that. But it was my mental health and fatigue and just the things we were dealing with that we didn't know how to deal with at the time. So I went to Mainside in Camp Pendleton, California for the first time of any type of mental health treatment, whatever. dealing with, survivor's guilt or, post-traumatic stress or whatever, stress, depression, whatever it was. And this kid, bless his heart, he was just trying to do the Lord's work. Okay. He was 23 years old, just out of school, never served a day in his life. And I already had a bad taste in my mouth about going because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it worked or not. In our culture, it's a suffer in silence kind of thing, mission accomplishment, then troop welfare, So I go and I'm sitting there telling him my story. He was asking questions. He kept saying, "Oh, I understand after everything I said. So I was like, "What do you freaking understand, man?" So I stood up, I looked at him. I said, "What boot do you put your dog tags in?" He couldn't tell me. I was like, "It's your left boot. This is why you shouldn't be around this population." I went off, right? Then I didn't go back to mental health treatment for 8 years. That was a dark 8 years. The drive, the expectation. Yes, I was able to be successful in certain areas. Went to oil field, private investigations, oil field engineering. I did a lot of different things just trying to find my why again, right? It was a dark 8 years because I didn't have the tools then. So if I didn't have the tools then, I know there's hundreds of thousands of other veterans and first responders dealing with the same thing. So after that, 2007, 8 timeframe, education is what I really sought solace in because I don't know enough to be dangerous in this arena. I remember a gunnery sergeant telling me one time, he was awesome, Gonzalez. And he basically was saying, know enough to be dangerous regardless of the room you walk in on. And I took that literally to the bank. You know what I mean? But again, I think the transition's really hard. I was frustrated at people just walking slow. Nobody had purpose, nobody had direction. Everybody thinks slower, talks slower. And I started thinking over time, this is what peace and freedom feel like. They've never had to have a sense of urgency or might not have been trained or exposed to it. That's why I think the youth right now doesn't really understand the gravity of some of the dark decisions they make that cause death, right? It's just I've been exposed to a lot of different things at a young age that necessarily didn't develop me probably appropriately, just like many others, to fit into a society that is a little softer, rounder, not as harsh of a climate. And that transition doesn't equate to good career development changes. There's a lot of leadership positions or individuals that I served under during that 8 years that I did not get along with. I thought I could do it better, or they didn't know how to manage me appropriately. They didn't know how to communicate, whatever the case is. And I know there's a lot of people that can probably attest to that. It's just not a good fit because you're in charge of millions of dollars worth of equipment or personnel. And then now you're over here cleaning shitters or whatever it is you're doing. And again, it doesn't equate. Math isn't math. And when it comes to communication, expectation, desire, and will to be assertive, we come off as a little more intense, as you know. Now, that trickles into the generation that comes behind us, parenting, co-parenting, or their lack of, right? Suicidal ideations, mental health, depression. So kind of coming back with the transition, it wasn't anything but a God thing. I feel like that I was positioned in a way to really have good, loving, and supporting elements in my life that refuse to quit, just like I refuse to quit. Okay. So whenever I start to look at my development, when I came into Texas A&M leadership and development program, going to the Corps Cadets, trying to find a healthy balance between civilian life and the military life and kind of culture, the Texas DPS, just trying to find ways to be useful, but also have that connection with the community again. Because those 8 years, it was really hard for me to find that direction, find that connection, and find a reason to really build long-lasting relationships in a sense, because I didn't expect myself to make it. You know what I mean? So after that, one of these instances, I was in the oil fields in Midland, and there's this guy that had a really hot temper. He was kind of leading the lab, and he had a history of physically assaulting people. I was like, my man, I can relate to that. No, I'm kidding. So anyway, we were doing a test on some gels, base gel, stuff like that, water, whatever, and he slapped my hand into a viscosimeter, which is like it's a machine, countertop in the lab, and it's spinning at a high rate. And anyway, it hurt my hand. I cussed. I went outside to cool off, and he chased me, and he grabbed me. And he looked at me. He's like, before he could say anything, I said, if you ever touch me again, I'll drop you where you fucking stand. Again, probably not a great career move. You know what I mean? And then he went and told his lead, the manager of the lab, stuff like that. And they were like, well, we're going to have to write you up, things like that. And I was like, I'm not doing this song and dance again. He physically touched me. Again, in my world, we square up, but obviously we can't do that. So I said, I'll sign it if he signs it. And they didn't want to do that. I said, y'all figure that out. That's amongst yourselves. You let me know what you want to do. I'll be back on Monday. I went to go to a football game in Lubbock, Texas, at Texas Tech. And I don't know what it equates to, but it's probably another God thing. I got on campus, trying to get my bearings, trying to make some connections of where everybody's going to be at. And within 45 minutes, I'd applied, been accepted, and registered for my first semester course in the counselor education master's clinical mental health program. That's when my life changed for the better.
So you applied for that while you're in the oil and stuff like that? You applied for that?
I had literally left. I had everything in my truck. I had, again, a God thing. I don't know why. I had everything in my truck to apply. I had my transcripts. I had my application information. I had everything I needed to apply for the master's program, and I did. And I gave my resignation, finished out what I needed to, came back that fall, and I kicked it. And then I haven't stopped learning and growing and trying to be useful ever since.
What was your interest and passion for mental health, going into it?
Just to go to freaking less funerals. I was tired of people that I loved and cared about and respected dying.
To me, when I watched American Sniper and they were talking to Chris Kyle, I forget how many times he had gotten deployed, and they kept asking him why do you keep trying to go over there? And he's like, I'm fighting for my country. I'm doing this, and talking about going over there to make a difference. And I forget who he was talking to, but they were like, man, let's take a walk down here. There's plenty of guys that need saving right here. And when you say that to me, that's what I hear. I hear guys seeing what their friends are dealing with. They're seeing what the guys are dealing with, and they're not liking the way, first off, the way it's turning out, and second of all, the lack of help, and then the fact that, or if the people that are helping, they're not doing it. They're not doing a good enough job.
Yep. And again, like that first story I told you about, the first clinician I saw about the dog tags, right? Well, I didn't know that you could refer out. I didn't know that there were other options. So again, going through the program and trying to find out that why and understand, I'm here to equip the next generation of experts in the field. That's why I went through the doctorate ranks, and now I'm a professor, and I'm teaching and educating and starting my private practice. I'm trying to equip a venue for people to train, to learn, to grow, and to really make an impact through their lens and give them a voice. And I think that is so empowering because there's only one of me, right? Like I can only see so many people in my caseload, but if I produce thousands of clinicians or give guidance to this next generation of experts in the field, now we're making world change, and I think that's what's really caused me to really focus on what I've been focusing on with the transition, because it did suck. I didn't have the answers. I didn't always have the support. I didn't always have the information to be useful or successful. I've taken the stairs my whole damn life, Charlie, like for real. It's been stressful. I mean, that's where I'm at. So, but again, if anybody's listening to this show, chase your passion, chase your why, because you're going to be able to reach a population the rest of us can't. Don't let the rest of us miss out on your skills and talents and gifts because you decided to take the easy way out. Do the hard thing. Show up. Learn. Be your best so you can give it. There's no greater cause than that, in my opinion. So,
How many organizations, once you started studying mental health, how long did that take before you started getting comfortable? What about some of the organizations you worked with? What was kind of the temperature of what was going on in the country? Because I remember, just hearing some of the stats on the amount of suicide that was going on each and every day with not only military, but then when you add the first responders, it's ridiculous.
Again, my dissertation was on first responder suicidality and resilience. Okay. The higher the resilience, the lower all of these scores are from these assessments we've utilized in the research and development. So like your depression, anxiety, all of your stress, stuff like that, post-traumatic stress, suicidal ideations and thoughts and cognitions, if you had resilience in place, they were all reduced. Okay. So going back, the climate, it's a sign of weakness to ask for help. Hell, we're still kind of seeing that. We're trying to get implanted in a lot of the fire departments, police departments, military base, things like that. I mean, we're gaining traction. There's a lot of people trying to do really good things that are brain health, physical, mental health. Like there's a lot of different life coaching. So going to the organizations in the non-for-profit kind of like game, it's incestuous. A lot of people are very competitive there, I found, but they're all still trying to accomplish the common good for everyone, right? That's why they're in place, to provide resources, support, things like that. So I started out with 22 Kill that turned into One Tribe Foundation. I did a lot of different roles in that organization. It really highlighted kind of my area of focus, trauma work. Veterans, first responders, frontline medical workers, their families. I've even done a lot of work with children with special needs and their families, pilots, things like that. So it's kind of really elevated my approach and outlook on how I look at holistic style approaches to mental health. It's not a one size fits all. I have to equip myself and position myself to be accessible. So by utilizing, like, say, 22 Kill, One Tribe Foundation that really focuses on connection, camaraderie. They had a mental health kind of like feature to them for a while, and now they're really trying to build connection and bring awareness around suicide and mental health and awareness and bring that bonding, connecting type environment back, that culture back. And then Camp Southern Ground, shout out to Lacey and everybody out there doing great things. Jake, killing it. So Zach Brown Band kind of developed this, what we call Camp Southern Ground. It's Warrior Path and Warrior Week. These are two specific individual weeks that are dedicated to the betterment of mental health, awareness, career development, and transition. They do a lot of great things. I would look them up if you can, in any way, shape, or form. If you know somebody in need or would like to get some experience with learning kind of what is happening organically, mentally, psychologically, and figure out what your strengths are. They do the Clifton Strength Finders. They do the Enneagram, other assessments that really help highlight what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how to do it well moving forward. Some of the best facilities in the nation, I would say. It's 411-acre ranch. It's Zach Brown, and his family's ranch. But again, he's turned it into a paradise. And on the summer, they actively start utilizing camps and retreats for children with special needs and their families. They have camp counselors. It's a great opportunity for a lot of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's other organizations like yours, right? Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, where these degenerates, I'm kidding, really bring the Western lifestyle to light. It's a great opportunity to really bring the competitive spirit out of the veteran and first responder and really allow them to focus on being present and being a part of a team. When you're doing a branding, let's just say that, right? It's an organizational type thing. Everybody has a different role. Everybody's expected to do this or takes on this responsibility. They have to manage not only their emotions, but their environment, but also the horse underneath them. So they're forced to be present. And I think these non-traditional type therapies are essential to allow these individuals that might not be necessarily ready to step into a clinical suite, talk about their worst day with somebody they've never met before. This is a great gateway. Like all these non-traditional type programs like One Tribe, like what you're doing, Camp Southern Ground. It's to equip you with tools, techniques, strategies, and support and resources. Get involved. And I think y'all are doing a great job at doing that. I've been involved with all of these different types of things with the clinical lens a little bit, but also as the veteran or first responder, right? Like, this works, this is realistic, or this is stupid. Like, this is not going to work. This is not going to land, right? But I would run retreats for like not Camps on the Ground, One Tribe Foundation, the Forge program, which I think is called One Tribe Outdoors now. But we would do fishing kind of retreats, hiking retreats, hunting retreats, helicopter hog hunts. It's to really saturate and immerse these individuals that might not have access or have ever experienced these types of things, be around like-minded individuals, doing some pretty challenging things, some great things, maybe some things that they can't afford to do, like fishing. It can be expensive, specifically fly fishing. Yeah. God, I love that stuff. I have like ADHD, so I'm all over the place, right? So fly fishing is like the only place like I can just chill because I'm doing 48 things, living my best life. Ain't catching shit. Doing it though, looking good doing it. But my wife's a better fisherman than me. It's just ridiculous. I hate it.
I've seen the stats of what my wife has accomplished in mine, but I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just introduced myself now as I'm Jackie Crawford's husband.
That's correct.
Stats,
that's how you were in my phone. You're Jackie Crawford's bagman and wife. Right. Yeah. So, but I think, the non-traditional side is really what kind of bridges the gap. It makes it to where it's inclusive. It doesn't feel so clinical. It is a gateway to get you or that individual some support, peace, maybe some more information to take that next leap. Okay. What
has been your take on, is it called aviation?
Say again?
Have you heard about that? I've heard Sean Ryan and a few guys talking about it. I had Greg Coker on the podcast last month, and he was talking about aviation, where you go down to a certain place and it's very hard to even explain. It's almost like a holistic, I forget exactly what it is, but man, I've heard some guys going down there and going through it.
Yeah.
Having a lot of Sean Ryan's really talked about it as being very, very successful. I didn't know how much you've heard about it or if you could explain it much. I know it's been having like an 87% success rate with it, but I don't know if it's shrooms or it's some kind of psychedelic.
Psychedelics are very, very useful. A lot of veterans are on them that I know about too, but they have a great experience with changing the reality or pain or stress levels, things like that. I believe that it can work. There's a lot of research out there. I would suggest anybody that's interested in that, because they only do it in certain areas, right? Because it's not just.
I thought I heard Mexico, if that sounds right.
Yeah. And I've heard great things about it. And I think it kind of rewires your kind of brain chemistry a little bit, even if it's just temporary, and it really focuses on the kind of the target memories that are not so great. But I think the process leading up to it, from my understanding, really kind of helps calibrate their experience. They call it a trip, but again, at the end of the day, it's their experience, the intensity, and if it's good or bad or positive or negative kind of thing. But again, there's a lot of research out there. I think a lot of people this is just another avenue, because I think all these types of treatments, mental health, non-traditional, not everybody's into the same shit. Not everybody's going to heal the same. Not everybody's trauma is the same, right? Not everybody that comes back from, service wants to ever probably be around a gun again, so we would change the way that we develop their healing process. So we would take them fishing versus hunting particularly. So depending on their experience, you don't know where they're at. We just have to meet them where they're at with options, with resources, with, tangible resources that are backed in data and research, empirical data. We have to have it, because I think that's where we really identify what works, what doesn't work, and how we can modify the experience and the transition of veterans and first responders back into the civilian sector, essentially.
I know when I first had that my first roping. So we've done this. We've done the clinic since 2014. We've done it right here at my house, and then it grew so big that in 2020 we decided we had so many guys interested that wanted to be involved that it wasn't big enough. So we decided to have a roping, and
Right.
hence where it's at now. But when we did it then, it was very small. I think the military first responder roping I think had 35 teams. So it was
Wow.
very small, especially when you compare it to last year, I think, where we had 380. So it was a very small group. But one of the things that really resonated with me was one of the guys, when he walked up to me, he's like, "Man, that was so much fun, man." He's like, "God, I ain't gonna lie, I feel like I got my balls back again."
Yeah.
And when I heard that, it was when I watched that American Sniper, when Chris Kyle was out there with them guys and he took him shooting. And when that guy made that statement of saying, "Man, I feel like I got my balls back," man, it was one of those things that really, really resonated. Was like, some guys are trying to find their purpose out here. And, if I looked at it like God gave me a set of skills that he developed me with that I've been using for myself for my whole life, maybe this is my calling to where maybe this is something I can do that benefits others. And
Yeah.
it really resonated when that guy told me that. And not only that, the amount of guys that I've heard telling me that this could keep the gun out of their mouth for a little while longer, to have that purpose, or to have a place where he can meet with his guys. And when you hear that stuff, and it's surreal, and when you hear, I don't even know what the stat is now, Blake, you tell me, but last I heard it was 28 guys between military and first responders that were killing themselves every single day. And when I heard that, it was like, well, if the government ain't going to do it, then piss on it. I'll do it myself. So that is kind of one of those things where it's like, we're either going to take care of these guys and show them how to do this stuff that we do in the Western industry and do what we can with the tools that we have. And so I don't know, it's just one of those things where if someone else ain't going to step up, this is what I can do. Let's see where this can go with introducing these guys to the Western industry, because it is busy. It's very, you can, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things to do, but you've seen it and you felt it when it's like when we go out there and you go branding, and we're going out there and branding cattle, and you can feel the romance of just being out there and being with your horse and the cattle and just feeling that peace. That's the one thing that's so cool about the Western industry is the freedom. I mean, when we're out there rodeoing, man, we don't have a boss, so it's so free in what we do. And so I thought, man, when I heard that, like, let's see what we can do with this. And then hence 5 years later, going on 6 years, me and Bill just got back from where we were able to give the home away last week, and with building homes for heroes. And, now we're going on 6 homes that we've helped build for disabled vets. And, not only the help that we do with Brotherhood for the Fallen, for the police force, and then also with the Firefighters Foundation. And, but when we talk about what you do, when you stepped in and come in and started helping us, and one of the things that I've noticed is when your presence is there, you can't think about suicide. You can't even think about being angry at your wife. You know what I mean? Like, the presence you have, because it's so much fun. You're entertaining, you're laughing. You can feel the endorphins in your brain changing when there's humor, and when there's fun, and when there's something to do, and when they're able to talk to shit, when we're able to, give each other so much heck, but like in the same sense, feeling, for me, a bond that I've never felt before. I got some great friends that I've roped with, and that I've traveled with, and that I've stayed with, and that I grew up with. But the group that I've developed a relationship with this organization, I've never felt what it's like somebody have my 6. When I tell you there's truly guys in this organization who'll take a bullet for me, I'm telling you, I've never felt that before. As a civilian, that is something special that, it is so cool when I tell you how cool that feeling is. And, that bond that you guys have, it's almost just a glimpse a little bit for me of what that feels like. And to have you there with us, and I know the guys and how much they appreciate, but you can just see demeanors change when you show up. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate having you being involved in this organization.
I can't thank y'all enough for letting me first and foremost come back. But I think that, going back to the purpose, right? Like, purpose is the one thing that'll keep a gun barrel out of somebody's mouth and in the gun safe. And again, y'all are doing that, right? And the people that I always like to say collect, because that's what we're doing. We're collecting beautiful souls, right, for the greater good. Everybody has a different skill or a talent or something they bring to the table, right? We have to play to our strengths and realize we're far greater in numbers. I want to associate myself with people that are good at everything that I'm not, period. And I think y'all have really done a great job at doing that. You get out of people's way, like, hey, can you do that? Yep, let's do it. And then you let them do it. I think that is something that a lot of organizations don't hit the mark on. And I think y'all are doing that really well. I love the guys. They always give me crap, then I give it right back, and I wouldn't expect it any other way. And, I think that is forging long-lasting relationships that can really make a positive impact in different seasons of life, not just the right here, right now. I think there's going to be a lot of things that we can help work on collectively together for years and years to come, hopefully, right? And then, if you start looking at the next generation of our kiddos and what they're doing, they're getting to see greatness all around them. Like how to love, how to support unconditionally, loving through advantage, doing the hard things, and being present. When you say you're going to do something, do it. Don't sit there and just kind of falsify kind of like what you're saying and doing and masking it with pretend. If you say you're going to do something, follow through. And I think the organizations like we've mentioned today really do that. And they step outside the box. They find creative ways to find resources, love, and support. Giving a home to a veteran or anybody in general, let's just start there, right, is a big deal. That is the biggest financial decision most people will never recover from. And you gifted that to somebody. You gave them an opportunity to do that. That's changing lives generationally, immediately. Not waiting for years and years, whatever. They can live in this house today for years and years and years. Same thing with the roping. There's a lot of people that can't afford ropes, saddles, horses, fees, all this trailers. You know what I'm saying? And y'all give them an opportunity to really allow them to be immersed in this type of environment to really, truly heal and to really get embedded into this Western lifestyle. And I think that is something that has changed lives for the better. There's a lot of veterans that started out, they're all better than me, but not real good, head nor healing or finding their seat. But these people are competing, collecting checks now because of that initial feeling they got and desire to find purpose. And you've provided that. And all the people that help you do that, the ops team, the ambassadors, they're pretty good. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something bigger than rodeo. The Liberty and Loyalty Foundation is dedicated to supporting our military first responders and their families through life-changing Western experiences. Our biggest event of the year, the Hillwood Land and Cattle American Hero Celebration, happens this November, and we need sponsors to help us keep making an impact. Please contact us if you can help. Ropers, we have money added in every roping. Come enter the open, the Military First Responder Pro Roping, our ranch rodeo, the Military First Responder Roping, which is open to all military first responders, current and former, November 7th through the 8th at NRS Arena in Decatur, Texas. Buy a table and attend our gala November 8th at the Decatur Convention Center, and then following day, head to Cowtown Coliseum for the Imus Ranch Quarter Horses NFR Showdown and Military First Responder Short Round, November 9th. It's patriotic, powerful, and full of grit. To get involved or give back, visit libertyandloyaltyfoundation.com today because we may not know them all, but we do owe them all. God bless.
Yeah, the team that's being built here, too, that's been helping facilitate that has been amazing. But I love what, when you say that some of the guys that come that they can't afford to come, I tell you what's even cooler than that, too, is the guys that come that don't even rope. We got a group of guys just so they come and hang out with their guys. They enjoy roping. They enjoy the Western industry, but they've never roped. But they just love to come just to be around the guys. And we encourage that.
Yeah.
We're trying to create an event like this is an American Hero celebration. So, this is where we celebrate the guys. And it's something that, for me, looking back at my career, this is some of this is my give back. This is something to where God blessed me with a talent. How can I utilize it and in the direction that he gave it for me and to be able to use. And, what greater group of guys than heroes for me to be able to want to use the talents that I have to do good. And it's been amazing with the people that I've met. And, I'm so excited with this event. I mean, it's coming up. We're getting close, and you talk about some of the things you facilitate, but I'm really excited about your clowning again.
Oh man,
I mean, you're the Marine clown now of the industry. I tell you, the last couple of years, man, you've killed it. Not only that, but your outfit really matches, I thought, the vibe of the celebration for sure.
Yeah, that's been the staple that I've really enjoyed being a part of and being able to kind of develop out. It's pretty cool. I get the crowd involved and kind of make up and break up that kind of monotonous, dragging the arena and stuff like that, and really building connection with the people there that are in the arena for the first time or whatever. I like the race. I felt like really brought it home this last year. Oh man, I was tired, but I just think that competitive spirit, getting people involved, and man, I think it's been awesome. It's been a blessing to be a part of it.
Hopefully we can try to get maybe those rafters, get some entertainment out of that. I'm really excited. I've seen it in 2016 in Dallas when we were at the ERA finals. I believe a groupie of the 22 kill came down from the rafters, man, and it was one of the coolest, most patriotic things, man. I loved it, man. It was awesome.
We're working on it. We've got to find some training facilities, stuff like that. I mean, it's a lot of prep, a lot of gear, a lot of stuff like that. I'm talking with some of the Fort Worth SWAT teams kind of directly right now, trying to see if they can't get us some stuff ready that's pretty cool to watch and stuff like that. So we'll see how that develops. So
I love it, man. It's going to create such a patriotic theme. I think it's going to be cool. So I'm excited too. And you announced on the Ranch Rodeo, you really step it up with that event. Like you're so diverse in this organization of all the talents that you bring. It's fascinating. I love
How about that? I'll show up though.
That's right. Yeah. Well, anyone wanting to get involved, look at Liberty and Loyalty Foundation. If you want to sponsor, if you want to donate, there's auction items available. Look at the website. They'll be online as well if you're wanting to bid on them. If you can't make it, if you can make it, love for everyone to show up to our gala on Saturday night. That's where the top 15 military first responders are going to get their back numbers. We try to create for the military and first responders in that roping the NFR experience. That's why we call it the NFR Showdown. And so basically we've got 67,500 added in that roping this year. We've got almost 100,000 added just in the ropings for the military and first responders this year. It's awesome. And so that's where we have our live auction items. This year we got a 1,000X hat from American Hats. We got a quarter of beef donated. We got Kentucky Derby tickets, couple breedings on some horses. We get to rope with me and my wife for a day.
Hey.
Yeah, hey. Yeah, I get a little marriage counseling for that too. Don't do it. And then Texas Motor Speedway. Those are rank. I bought those before. I'm still waiting to get out there and go do it with them, man. I'm so excited for that. Anyone watch Days of Thunder? One of my favorite movies, so I'm really excited for that. We got some buckles donated. Hard 8 donated some catering, and then the NFR experience. The NFR experience is cool because this is where you get a chance to where what you donate, if you're the highest bidder, you can pick who you want to rope with the NFR guys that we will have there. So this is one of our biggest auction items, and this is how we raise our money. This is where we're able to build the homes, and this is where we're able to make a lot of things. I know our guest speaker this year is going to be Greg Koch. We're excited about that. We're able to honor the family of the police officer that was killed there in Decatur. So and it's going to be emotional. It's going to be exciting. It's so cool to be able to create such an honor for these heroes. So. I can't wait my goal is I hope we get Sunday packed. I really would. If you guys can't do anything else, I mean, other than love to have you show up. If you're military first responder, check out online, check our Liberty and Loyalty. We have free tickets for anyone who served. My goal there on Sunday at Cowtown Coliseum is to pack that sucker, man. I don't think there'd be anything cooler than to show our patriotism, right before Veterans Day, to come out, support the guys, cheer for them, man, as they're roping right alongside with the NFR guys as they're getting ready for the NFR, the experience they're going to have. And for these guys to be able to win the roping and hear the roar of the crowd, that is something that I just love to be able to facilitate that for them with having everyone jam packed in that Cowtown Coliseum. So, and man, I'm excited to see hopefully our open ceremonies, if not another foot race out there during the arena drag.
I'm stretching now, so I'm ready.
I love it, man. I love
Yeah,
it.
they better bring that sack lunch because I'm taking it.
So you went from a lot of the organizations. Where are you at now? Where are you at with your counseling? How do people get a hold of you?
I am easy to find. Okay. Cardinal Counseling and WellnessGroup.com. It is a mental health treatment type facility, but also we do life coaching, stuff like that. We do psychoeducation, training, suicide awareness and prevention, critical incident, stress management, things like that. But we do primarily mental health treatment for veterans, first responders, frontline medical workers, pilots, children with special needs and their families. We do individual, couples, families, groups. We do all types of different mental health treatment and services, diagnosis, stuff like that. And basically, we're in several locations, but our primary location for now is the Colleyville off of 4004 Gateway, Suite 180. We've got a location in White House, Texas, and then we're also trying to look at expanding a little bit. I have an office here at the Stephenville Tarleton State University kind of like location, stuff like that. So if anybody ever needed anything, they're on campus, come see me. I'd love to help out in any way we can. My email,
get off work early one night, man. You gotta give us a shout. You come out here to come ride Big Red again.
Oh man, I'm triggered. I know Red is too. I don't know. Red's probably been too busy winning. And I don't know if I have what it takes to run her, maybe.
I don't know if you've seen the Instagram the other day when my little girl up middle of the night walks out of the house, goes in there barefooted. Who knows how many copperheads she stepped over just to get over to Big Red, because when she hollers at Big Red, he just comes running to the gate.
He's awesome.
Climbs on the gate, crawls over his neck, just out there riding him around there in his little pen with nothing on. He's the greatest horse in the world.
No kid. Well,
finally we found her. And we're like, Journey, what are you doing? You can't be out here. She's like, why?
Why not?
Why not?
She's on a horse for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a world champion in the making.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's a good match.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate what you're doing, man. You're doing God's work, brother.
Likewise. You are too, brother. Shout out to Jackie for wrangling this cowboy in. Getting him straight, showing him what a true champion looks like.
Right. Not every good man's a good woman, and that's
for me. Sure. Yeah, man. I'm kicking outside my coverage too with my wife, so we got something in common.
That's right.
That's right. Good deal, man.
Appreciate what you're doing, brother.
Likewise.
If I don't see you here on Big Red, we'll be seeing you next month or a couple months anyway.
Yep, I'll be there.
Right
for
on.
Sure.
Thanks for coming on, brother. I appreciate you.
Take care.
All right, love you, brother.
Love you too.